We can speak now. Muy contento. Muy contento.
We're going to change the program slightly. We have come here tonight to hear a world figure that we love and respect. We have come here tonight to show our solidarity with the Cuban Revolution because the Cuban Revolution has shown solidarity with us. The Cuban Revolution has opened its doors to those who have had to flee from persecution in the United States. The Cuban Revolution has provided more medical assistance throughout the world than the entire World Health Organization of the United Nations. The Cuban Revolution has shed blood in Africa for the African people. I had the honor in 1976, along with the late brother Irving Davis, of flying from Conakry, Guinea, on a Soviet airfloat carrying Cuban compañeros to fight in Angola. And we saw the work that they did there, not just because they went to fight, but all of the life they brought forth from dealing with children, bringing children into the world, to saving lives because of their medical help. So it's not just about how much blood has been spilt in combat, but also the giving of life. And the Cubans gave their lives to help the lives of Africans. In 1990, we had the opportunity to hear Fidel Castro talk about the Battle of Cuito Canaveral, the deciding factor of the Angolan War and liberation of Southern Africa. Brothers and sisters, comrades and friends, I give to you the hero of the struggle of the people throughout the world, Comandante Fidel Castro.
Queridos, o mejor dicho, queridísimos
Dear,
amigos.
or rather very dear friends,
Algunos de los que me precedieron, no
some
sé
of
si
the
fue
speakers who preceded me,
Rosamari o fue Bob, decía que algunos se preguntaban
I said that some of them were wondering,
por qué me recibían en esta
why was it that I
iglesia.
was being welcome in this church?
Y él contó interesantes anécdotas
And he told very interesting
de la vez que me
stories
habían llevado a la otra iglesia.
of the day they took me to the other church.
Sobre eso debo hablar también.
I should speak about that too tonight.
Pero es que no solo algunos de ustedes,
But it happens that
o
not
algunos
only
se
some of
preguntaban,
you,
¿por
but
qué me recibían a mí?
I was also wondering why I was being welcomed
Es
like
que
this.
yo mismo,
It is that I myself,
cuando me estaba vistiendo
while I was getting dressed
para venir
to
acá,
come here tonight,
me quité todos los trajes.
I got rid of the business suit.
Y me puse esta ropa que es la que había
I
usado
got rid of my
durante
business suit and
tantos
then
años.
I went into this fatigues which I have been
Hasta que
wearing
la
for so many years.
diplomacia
I
internacional
have
me
been wearing
obligó,
this till international diplomacy has forced
no
me,
hace mucho,
not very long ago,
a ponerme una guayabera.
to wear a guayabera.
Pero descubrí
But then I discovered
que yo no tenía una sola guayabera.
that I did not have only one guayabera.
Me prestaron
Then I
guayabera,
had to borrow one.
movilizaron no sé cuánta
They
gente,
mobilized I don't know how many
hicieron
tailors in
guayabera
order to have some guayaberas cut for me.
por la noche.
That was in the
Yo me
midnight.
tenía que ir al otro
I
día.
was supposed to leave from that trip
Me
the
la
next
probaron por
day.
la mañana
I tried it in the morning
y realmente estaba tan
and actually it did not fit.
Amplia.
It was so big.
que yo en broma
It was so big that as a joke,
le dije a los amigos,
I said to my
yo
friends,
dije,
look,
me referí a una persona
I mentioned a person
con la que he tenido contradicciones,
with whom I have had some contradictions,
pero que a la que pude conocer
but somebody I
también.
was able to meet
comprender.
later, and he's not a bad person.
Era presidente de un país
He was the president of a country,
latinoamericano.
of a Latin American country,
Y yo le dije, óigame,
and he was fat.
ustedes me han hecho la guayabera del gordo tal.
So I said to the tailor, you have tailored that guayabera for that man and not for me.
Corre, recorta.
It was broad like this,
Pero me tuve que poner la
but I
guayabera.
had to wear it nonetheless.
Después le cuento a un amigo, a una
After
familia,
that, I said it to a friend,
que tenía
to a family
una hija
who
diseñadora.
happened to have a daughter who's a designer.
En Holanda, Inglaterra.
In Holland, she had studied
Esa
in
familia
Europe.
tenía relaciones
That
con Cuba hace
family
mucho
had had
tiempo.
relations with Cuba for a long
Yo le había
time.
contado que descubrí que no tenía
I
ningún
told them
traje.
that I discovered that I did not have any civilian clothes.
Entonces me ofreció los
So they
servicios
offered me her
de la
services,
familia
that family,
para hacerme un traje.
and then she designed some suits for me.
Bueno, en realidad me hicieron como
Well, actually,
3 o 4.
she prepared about 3 or
Pero yo
4
de
suits for me.
trajes le aseguro que
But
no
I
sabía
assure you
nada,
that I
nada,
did
nada.
not know anything about suits,
Ni la tela,
nothing about the clothes
ni la camisa,
or the shirt
ni la corbata,
or the tie
ni los yugos.
or the
De
couplings,
repente ponerme
you know.
unos yugos y una
I did not know anything.
unos zapatos de punta.
And the shoes, very
Ya
uncomfortable
los
shoes.
pies míos no estaban acostumbrados a eso.
You know, I was not used to that.
Tenía unas viejas botas,
I had my old boots,
media raídas ya,
somewhat old, and
no por pobreza,
not because I was
sino
poor,
por costumbre.
but
Ya
because I
yo
was in the habit of wearing my
le
old
tenía
boots.
tanto cariño a mis
They
botas
were
que no me
so
las
comfortable, you know, that I did not want to leave them for a new pair of shoes.
quería quitar. Y entonces, por fin terminé
Finally,
con
I ended up
guayabera,
dressed in a guayabera,
traje,
in a business suit,
Corbata,
with a tie,
camisa,
with a shirt,
yugo,
with the cufflinks,
zapatos,
with shoes.
que no me los pongo porque
I'm not wearing them
no
now.
pude. No los pies ya no pudieron muchos años.
I don't like them much, you know.
Y por fin, bueno, y ahora soy un honorable caballero.
And now I am an honorable gentleman.
Que participo en las reuniones cumbre. Y a cada rato hay una reunión cumbre. Bueno,
Once in a
ya.
while there are summit conferences and I have to dress up like an honorable gentleman in a business suit.
La reunión sobre desarrollo social.
There was another summit on social development.
Que si París.
And in Paris, I had to pay a visit to that country, to
Claro,
France.
en todos los lugares me bajo con este.
In every place, you know, I leave the
Y
plane
después me
wearing
cambio.
my fatigues.
Las visitas
And then I
protocolares,
change
los
for those
museos,
protocol
todo.
visits. I wear my business
Y
suits.
entonces, bien, no sé si me he ido civilizando.
I don't know if it is because I'm becoming more civilized.
Tampoco quería dar la impresión y ayudar que yo fuera a aparecer como un señor militar allí o algo de eso. Que yo no estudié esa carrera.
You know, I did not study the career of looking like a gentleman in a business
A mí
suit.
no me quedó más remedio
I
que
only had to do it.
tener que luchar,
And I did not study to be a politician. I had
tener que aprender.
to learn the trade along the way.
Hicimos algunas guerras y lo interesante es que las ganamos.
And the interesting thing is that we waged a battle and we won.
La nuestra era muy difícil, pero no le voy a hacer esa historia.
It is very difficult, but I'm not going to tell you that old story.
Pero llegamos a ser muy poquitos.
But there was a time in which we were only a few.
A veces menos de 10,
Sometimes there was a time in which we were less
a
than
veces
10.
12.
Sometimes we were 12.
Pero nuestros adversarios eran como
But our
80.
adversaries,
Y al final, en 25
though there
meses,
were many, in 25 months,
nuestra revolución venció
our
al ejército.
revolution was victorious.
Y lo venció de manera total. Y en combate
We
abierto.
won in the open
Estamos
battles.
siendo guerrillas y después
We were in the guerrilla forces.
una combinación
And
de
then with the
guerra
combination
irregular,
of irregular war,
habíamos aprendido el oficio.
we learned the trade of guerrilla warfare.
Pero nos gustó aquella ropa y nos quedamos con
But we
ella.
liked
Yo,
those fatigues that we wore at
por
that
cierto, me
time.
quedé siempre, me sentía muy cómodo.
And
no
as
tenía que andar
I
con la
felt so
moda.
comfortable in those fatigues, I kept wearing them all
Bueno,
these years.
les contaba que
Well,
fui al hotel.
anyway, I was
No,
telling
al
you the
hotel
story.
no, ahora no estoy en hotel, no.
I
no.
went to the hotel, not to the hotel,
No,
excuse
en la
me.
misión de la embajada.
I went to the Cuban
Bien
mission
adaptado allí. A ponerme esta ropa.
to wear this fatigue, to go back into my fatigues because I had been wearing the business suit before.
Porque yo decía,
Because I said to myself,
si la otra vez fui con esta ropa,
if the last time I went to Harlem I was wearing my fatigues,
¿cómo me voy a aparecer en
how come I'm
Harlem
going to go to Harlem
vestido de
dressed in a
caballero?
business suit?
Pensaba en estas cosas, pero de repente se me ocurrió pensar lo
I
mismo
was
que
thinking about this,
contaba.
but after that I started thinking what I said before.
¿Y qué hago yo en Harlem
What am I going to do in Harlem?
esta noche?
What am I going to do there tonight?
¿Qué hago?
What shall I do?
¿Qué digo?
What shall I say?
Porque yo, bueno, en las Naciones Unidas puedo decir algunas
I
cosas,
can say a few things at the United Nations,
pero aquí no tenemos inmunidad
but here we
parlamentaria
don't have
nosotros.
immunity to go into certain subjects.
No puedo argumentar la libertad. Tengo además, si allí soy cuidadoso,
There I have to be
pero
careful,
aquí también lo tengo que ser.
but here I have to be cautious
Nadie
too.
vaya a pensar
Nobody should
que
believe
yo me mezclo en los asuntos
that I'm
internos de Estados Unidos.
interfering in internal affairs of this country.
yo les juro que no me voy a mezclar en nada que no sea justo.
I swear that I'm not going to get mixed up in anything that is not public.
Pero algunas cosas abstractas, genéricas,
Only some
medio
abstract,
filosóficas.
some
se pueden
genetic
decir.
things, some philosophy.
Pero, ¿qué digo?
I said, what shall I say to them?
¿De qué hablo?
What shall I speak about?
Entonces me recordé que sí, que
Then I
yo tenía
remembered
cosas que decir.
that yes, I had things to tell you.
Tenía cosas de qué hablar.
I had things to talk to you about
Sin violar ninguna ley.
without breaking any law,
Sin caer en una corte jurisdiccional.
without having to be taken to a court.
Aunque espero que en ese caso ustedes me vayan a
So I
visitar.
hope that in that case you will go to visit me.
Pero es que recortaba tanto aquellos días
I was really recalling those days.
y con tanta
You know, those days
gratitud.
were coming back to my memory.
Y yo decía, tengo que venir,
I remember with such appreciation those days in which I was here in this neighborhood.
tengo que venir a saludar
I
a
said
mis
to myself, I
hermanos
have to go there and say hello to those
de
people.
Harlem,
Because it was in
y
Harlem
junto con ellos a los hermanos
where I have to go and visit there, and together with them, the Latin
los hermanos de
American,
Puerto Rico,
the Puerto Rican
los
brothers and
hermanos
sisters,
cubanos. Y algunos hablaron,
and some have been
hoy
spoken here.
había eventos, había cosas. Ayer creo que había una
I think
comida.
that yesterday there was a dinner.
Pero creo que el alcalde dijo que yo era
Yes,
un
but I think
demonio.
the mayor said
y
that I
que
was
un
a
demonio
demon,
no se le podía invitar a
and that
una
a demon
comida.
could not be invited to dinner.
Yo, caramba, voy a pasar hambre el primer
I said I'll
día.
go hungry the first day on New York.
Después me dijeron que había un concierto,
After that, I was told that there would be a concert,
pero que invitaban a las Naciones
that the
Unidas.
United Nations was extending the invitations,
Pero la orquesta era de la alcaldía.
but the orchestra was under the mayor.
Y la alcaldía dijo, o el alcalde,
And the mayor seemed to have
que
said,
de ninguna manera
No
aquella
way.
orquesta podía tocar donde
the
estuviera el
orchestra cannot
demonio.
play,
aquel.
the demon is in the hall.
Sí. Lo insólito.
It's really incredible.
Una familia amistosa,
It's outrageous because here there is a friendly family,
rica,
a
empresaria,
wealthy family,
un grupo de
and a group
empresarios
of businessmen
me invitaron.
invited me last night for dinner.
Invitaron al demonio.
They invited the demon.
Paradojas.
It's a paradoxic,
Y debemos alegrarnos,
and we should be happy
porque son muchos más
because there are many more,
los que comprenden.
the people who
Todas esas
understand
cosas del bloqueo son
that the
cosas
blockade
absurdas
and all those things are
y
obsolete,
son cosas locas.
that those are crazy things.
Y muchos hombres de empresa
And many businessmen
se oponen hoy al
are
bloqueo
today opposed to the blockade,
y luchan contra el
and they
bloqueo.
are striving against the blockade in their own way.
Ahora bien, yo no estoy aquí
Now, I am not here
porque no me hayan invitado a una comida.
because they did not invite me to dinner tonight
Ayer,
or yesterday,
ni estoy aquí
nor am I here
porque no me hubieran
because I
invitado
had
a
not
una
been
comida
invited to
hoy.
dinner tonight.
No, hoy hay comida también.
Today, there is a dinner.
Y yo estoy excluido.
I have been excluded.
No por ser demonio,
Not
ya no
because
me
I am
han
a
tratado
demon.
tan mal con
I have
llamarme
not been so
demonio.
ill-treated tonight.
Pero bueno, no sé
I don't know
si perjudico
if it is because
cualquier actividad política.
I heard a political activity, if I am present, I don't know.
Pero si me hubieran invitado
But if I had been invited
a la alcaldía,
to the mayorship,
tenía que ir por elemental.
I would have had to attend out of mere courtesy.
Si me hubieran
If
invitado
I had been invited
a la filarmónica,
to the Philharmonic Orchestra,
hubiera tenido que ir
to the concert,
por
I would have had
razones
to
de
attend
elemental
for
cortesía
reasons of elementary
y hasta incluso
courtesy
de elemental paciencia.
and even out of patience.
No porque me fuera a aburrir
Not
en
because
aquel
it was going to be
concierto.
boring for me, that concert.
Pero óigame, eso de estar rodeado
But
de
believe
jefes de
me,
Estado todo
being
el tiempo
surrounded of heads
a
of
veces
state all the
resulta
time
insoportable.
is sometimes unbearable.
Pero sí les puedo asegurar
I
una
can assure
cosa,
you, though,
que yo habría asistido a la
that I would
comida
have attended
a la que me habían invitado
that dinner
amablemente
to which
los empresarios
I was invited by the businessmen,
y no habría faltado jamás al encuentro con ustedes.
but I would have never failed to come to this meeting with you.
Porque lo primero que hice
Because the first thing I did
cuando se habló del programa
when the program was brought up with
fue
me
plantear
was to
mi
say
deseo de
that
reunirme,
I wanted
de visitar el Teresa
to visit the Teresa Hotel
y reunirme
and that I wanted to have an
con
encounter
ustedes aquí.
with you here in Harlem.
Fue lo primero. Pero nadie podrá decir que yo inventé una reunión
But
esta
nobody
noche,
will be able
precisamente.
to say that I invented a meeting tonight just not to attend.
Fueron otros
another
los que
meeting.
inventaron comida y cosas de-
Others have invented dinners and things,
y me excluyeron.
and they have left me out.
Y entonces yo tuve más tiempo.
I had more time then.
Tuve más tiempo, pude cumplir más.
So I had more time
Rápidamente,
free
con
to be
mis
able
deseos.
to come and discharge my duty and my decision to come and see you tonight.
Pero aquella vez
But that day,
fueron días realmente para mí
I mean,
inolvidables.
those were unforgettable days for me, the days when I came to the Teresa Hotel many years ago.
Era tal la hostilidad por todas partes.
There was such hostility.
Había tanta campaña
There was such a campaign
que yo pasaba por una zona
against our country
y me hacían así.
that I passed by one area and they did like this.
Yo no sabía qué quería decir
I
aquello,
didn't know
pero me
what they
imaginaba
meant
que
by
era
that, but I
algo
could imagine that it was
poco
something
amistoso.
was wrong.
Pero todo cambiaba cuando llegaba a
But
Harlem.
everything changed when I came to Harlem.
Todo el
In
mundo-
Harlem, you did this.
Hoy hay algunos cambios, excepto algunos compatriotas nuestros que
Today
todavía
is
no se han
different,
acabado de
with the
convertir a
exception
la
of some
causa.
fellow citizens of
de la
ours
soberanía
who have
nacional.
not yet become
Algunos,
followers of the cause of sovereignty
algunos
and
porque
independence. Only a
realmente
few.
van siendo menos.
Actually, they are less and less.
Gastaron dinero, gastaron de todo,
They spent money.
pagaron y buscaron no sé cuántos recursos.
And they found resources.
Me decía una periodista, ¿usted sabe qué?
A journalist was telling me this evening,
Hay 58 protestas.
do you know that there have been 57 protests against you?
Dígame, qué suerte
I
tengo
said,
yo que no he visto ninguna.
I'm a lucky man. I have not seen any.
Yo no sé de dónde sacó el dato. Yo,
I don't know where she
he
get the
visto
data.
miles de gente saludando.
But I said, I have seen thousands of people saying hello.
Ahora hay gente que me saluda en muchos lugares.
I have seen many people waving hands at me.
Sí, realmente hay cambios.
I've seen changes in the
Tener
way
en cuenta
people
que en aquellos
look at
momentos
us.
se vivía la Guerra Fría.
Remember that in those days when I came here first, those were the days of the Cold War.
con la revolución recién nacida.
The revolution was practically a newborn.
Eso fue en el año 60.
That was in the year 1960.
Y entonces me hicieron la vida imposible
And
en
then
el
they made
hotel.
life very difficult for me in that hotel where I
Y
was
yo tenía
staying.
todavía un poco de mentalidad guerrillera.
I still had somewhat the mentality of
Y dije,
guerrilla.
Me voy para el
So I
patio de las
said, I'm
Naciones
going to set
Unidas,
up a tent in the patio of the UN.
en una casa de campaña allí.
I'm going to set up my tent there.
No, pues seguí pensando, tuvieron contacto aquí con el Hotel Teresa.
And then it was said that we had the
Digo,
contact with the Teresa Hotel.
Hay una cosa mucho más estratégica.
I said there is something more strategic than that.
Irme a parar allí en el Hotel Teresa.
I'm going to stay at Teresa
Porque
Hotel.
aquí yo sabía que iba a contar con el
I
corazón
knew that
de
here
esta
I would have the
comunidad.
heart of the neighbors of Harlem.
Era evidente. Era evidente la injusticia, era evidente la
Injustice
discriminación.
was obvious, discrimination was obvious to me.
Y como revolucionario
And as a
sabía la
revolutionary,
recepción que tendría.
I knew that I would be welcome in this neighborhood.
Acuérdese de lo que dijo Lincoln, se puede engañar
I remember what Lincoln said,
a la gente,
you can deceive
a toda la gente una parte del tiempo,
all the people part of the time,
a una parte todo
part
el
of the
tiempo,
people part of the time,
pero no se puede engañar a todo el mundo.
but not
todo el
all the
tiempo.
people all the time.
Claro. Pero ustedes fueron la parte de la gente
But you were the part of the people
a quienes nunca pudieron
who were
engañar.
never deceived.
Aquí contó Rosamari las personalidades que vinieron al Teresa.
Rosemary here said all the personalities that came to visit me at Teresa Hotel.
Líderes internacionales
International leaders
que en muestra de solidaridad vinieron.
who in solidarity with me,
Vino Khrushchev,
even Khrushchev came.
sí, Khrushchev fue uno de los
Yes,
primeros que
Khrushchev
vino.
was one of the first leaders who came to
Y era
visit
el
me.
jefe de una
And
superpotencia.
he was the leader of the superpower.
Le agradezco, le reconozco.
I
su
appreciated
gesto.
that gesture that he had.
Khrushchev era un hombre de origen campesino,
Khrushchev was a peasant.
astuto,
He was a very shrewd peasant.
simpático,
Very funny guy.
y subió las escaleras y no desbarató aquella
And
cosa
he did
que
not
se llamaba
dismantle
Unión
his
Soviética.
country, by the way.
Subió por las escaleras, los ascensores del Teresa encantado, y después vinieron otros muchos líderes.
He became a leader, but after that, many of the leaders came to
Nehru.
visit. Nehru,
Una de las grandes figuras
one of the great leaders,
históricas, uno de los grandes
historical
políticos
leaders,
del
one of the
año.
great politicians.
Y vino Nasser,
And Nasser,
vino Nkrumah,
and Nkrumah,
uno de los más prestigiosos. Que vinieron numerosos dirigentes
many,
aquí al Teresa.
many great leaders came to visit me at the
Así que
Teresa
realmente
Hotel.
aquella grosera maniobra de hostilidad
They rejected that gross maneuver
le
of
rindió
hostility
dividendos a
against our
nadie.
country. No, it did not
En
pay off for
cambio, a mí me
anyone.
ofreció un recuerdo
Actually, it offered me
inolvidable,
an unforgettable
un
memory
motivo de gratitud
and a reason for feeling
eterna
eternal gratitude
hacia el pueblo norteamericano,
for the American people,
porque veía en
because
ustedes
I could see in
la
you
representación de las mejores
the best
virtudes,
representative
de las mejores
of the
cualidades del
virtues
pueblo
of the American
norteamericano.
people.
Se creó una historia. ¿Y saben cuánto tiempo hace de eso?
And you know how long ago that was?
35 años.
35 years ago.
Así que se cumple el 35
So this is
aniversario
the 35th anniversary
de mi visita.
of my visit, my first visit
Lo increíble
to this neighborhood. Now the incredible thing is
que todavía me expulsen.
that I'm still expelled
De las comidas,
I'm
de las
still being left
recepciones,
out
de
of the
todas esas
dinners and the
cosas,
receptions and the banquets,
como si no hubiera cambiado nada. en
as if
estos
nothing
35
had
años.
changed all these years.
como si todavía estuviéramos en la Guerra Fría.
As if we were still in the days of the Cold War.
Frío hacia acá adentro.
It's cold inside, but it's not a Cold War.
No, calor humano.
There is
Pero
human warmth,
temperatura fría. Parece que la iglesia no tiene mucho.
but the weather is somewhat cold.
Fondo
It
para
seems to be that
calefacción.
that the church does not have funds for the heat.
Bueno, así fue. Es increíble que se repita la historia
It's really incredible that history is repeating itself that way.
de esa forma. Ahora, yo tendría que hacerme otra pregunta.
Now, I would have to ask myself another question.
¿Por qué reciben ustedes a
Why
nuestra
is
delegación
it
con tanto respeto, con
that
tanto
you're receiving us here with such great respect?
Y eso tiene que tener una respuesta.
And there must be a reason for that.
Tiene que tener una respuesta. Que si otros no han cambiado, nosotros tampoco.
Because if others have not changed in their hostile positions, we have not changed either.
Y otros cambiarán
Others might change
porque no tienen la razón.
because they do not have the reason.
Y nosotros no cambiaremos
They are not
jamás
right, but we will never change
porque tenemos la
because
razón.
we are right.
Y la mejor prueba,
And the best evidence,
the best evidence son ustedes.
is your presence here.
Y el calor y el
And the
cariño con
warmth
que
and
nos
the
han
love
recibido
with which you have received me here tonight.
en el día de hoy. Y pienso que nuestro pueblo
And I think that our people
ha cumplido sus deberes
has discharged
morales,
its moral duties.
ha cumplido con sus
It has
principios,
discharged its,
ha
it has observed
cumplido
its ideals, its principles,
con la solidaridad.
and we have been in solidarity.
La compañera Rosamari hablaba
Comrade
Creo que
Rosemary
fue ella.
here
sobre algunos de los esfuerzos de
spoke about some of the
solidaridad
efforts
internacional que ha hecho
of
Cuba.
international solidarity that Cuba has made.
Habló de médicos,
She spoke about our doctors.
más de 15.000 médicos cubanos
Over 15,000 Cuban
han
doctors
prestado servicios
have
internacionalistas en el
worked
tercer mundo.
as internationalist missionaries in other countries.
Millones y decenas de millones de
Millions
personas han
and tens
sido
of
atendidas
millions
por
of
nuestros
people have
médicos.
been taken care of by our doctors.
En África,
In Africa
fundamentalmente,
mainly.
en América Latina,
In Latin America
en
also,
otras partes.
and in other parts of the world.
Cientos de miles de
Hundreds
vidas
of thousands of lives
se han
have
salvado
been
por el
saved
esfuerzo de esos médicos.
by our doctors' work.
Miles y miles
Thousands and
de
thousands
profesores y maestros
of
han
Cuban
enseñado,
teachers and professors.
técnicos en
have
todas
trained
las
technicians.
áreas, en todas las ramas.
Also, our technicians in many fields have gone to other countries to
Cuba que
work.
se quedó con 3.000 médicos
Cuba was left with only 3,000
de los
doctors
6.000 que tenía
out of the 6,000 it had in 1959.
y nos llevaron 3.000.
3,000 left.
Mejores salarios, mejores
They were
oportunidades.
incited by best salaries here in the United States.
Sin embargo, hoy tenemos
However,
casi 60.000.
nowadays we have 60,000.
Y si un día los norteamericanos
And if one day the
necesitaran médicos,
Americans were to need doctors,
yo sé que, que tienen muchos,
I can tell you that we can give
tienen
you.
muchos y muy buenos,
We have many.
pero si en algún
Good
lugar, en
doctors.
algún rincón,
We know
en
that you
algún
have
barrio,
them, but if
no
in
hay
any
un médico,
neighborhood you don't have a doctor,
nuestros médicos
our
vendrían
doctors
gustosos a
would
trabajar
come
también
to
junto
work
con los
here.
Estados Unidos. Para citar otro caso de solidaridad,
Just to mention another case in which solidarity was present,
los nicaragüenses necesitaron médicos.
the Nicaraguans needed doctors.
Ustedes saben que en aquella época de otras partes no le mandaron médicos.
You know that at that time, doctors were not sent from other
Enviaron
parts of the world.
cañones, ametralladoras,
Others sent
helicópteros,
cannons, machine guns,
bombarderos y
bombers,
municiones de
and
todas clases.
ammunitions of all kinds.
Y mientras de otras partes enviaban
So while others
hombres
were sent in,
que conducían a la tragedia, a la muerte,
were sending people
2,000
to carry
maestros
tragedy and death,
cubanos.
2,000 Cuban teachers
en su mayoría
went there,
mujeres.
most of them women.
Se fueron a enseñar a Nicaragua,
They went to Nicaragua to teach
pero no
the
a
Nicaraguans
Managua,
how to read and write.
no a las ciudades,
But they did not go to Managua, not to
a
the
las
capital.
montañas.
They went to the mountains.
a las selvas,
They went to the places where there were no teachers.
a los lugares más apartados.
They went to the most remote places.
Y cuando pedimos voluntarios para
And
aquella
when we
misión,
asked for teachers to volunteer in Cuba to go to Nicaragua,
se ofrecieron 30,000.
30,000 volunteered.
30,000. Vea, hermano Bot, qué sentimiento de
Look, Brother
fraternidad
Butts, what a sentiment of solidarity our people has.
se fue creando.
So that has been growing in our
Y cuando
people.
algunos
And when
contrarrevolucionarios
some counter-revolutionaries, some gangs in
asesinaron a
Nicaragua,
algunos maestros,
some Contras killed some Cuban teachers,
se ofrecieron 100,000.
100,000 Cuban teachers volunteered to take their places.
Esos fueron los valores morales que se fueron creando.
Those have been the moral values that we have
Con los
been
cambios en
creating
nuestro país.
with the changes in our country.
Y voy a citar otro ejemplo.
And I'm going to mention another example.
Cuando hubo un gran terremoto
When there was a
en
big
Perú
earthquake in Peru,
que mató 100,000
which killed
personas,
100,000 people,
70,000
which killed
personas.
70,000 people,
Pedimos donaciones de sangre.
we asked for blood donations from our people.
Y en 10 días
And in 10 days,
se ofrecieron y se hicieron
we received from our people
100,000 donaciones de
100,000
sangre.
blood donations to give them to Peru.
Cuando hubo un terremoto en Armenia,
When there was an earthquake in Armenia,
se ofrecieron y se hicieron 50,000 donaciones.
50,000 blood donations were given by
Cuando
our
hubo un
people for
terremoto
them.
en Irán,
When there
también
was
se
an
hicieron
earthquake
decenas de
in Iran
miles
and
de
thousands of
donaciones.
people died,
Y donde
we also
quiera que ha ocurrido alguna
collected thousands of
tragedia,
donations.
algún ciclón,
And wherever
algún
there has been a tragedy, a
terremoto,
hurricane, an earthquake,
nuestros técnicos,
our
nuestros
technicians,
médicos,
our doctors,
nuestro pueblo ha
our
estado
people have
en
made their
disposición
contribution
de ayudar,
to help,
independientemente de ideologías,
regardless of ideologies,
independientemente de que tuvieran o no
regardless of whether
relaciones
those countries
diplomáticas con
had
nuestro
diplomatic
país.
relations with us or not.
En esa conciencia de que nuestro pueblo ese es el país bloqueado.
That is the country which is under a blockade.
Ese es el país al que se acusan de
That is the
violaciones
country
de
that
los
has been
derechos
accused of
humanos.
violations of human rights.
El país que ha elevado el promedio de vida
The country that
a
has
casi
raised
perspectiva de vida a casi 76
life
años.
expectancy to almost 76.
Y que al reducir la mortalidad infantil
And that has reduced infant mortality
de
rate
60 por cada 1,000
from
nacidos
60 per
en el primer
1,000
año de
live
vida
birth
a menos de
to
10
less than 10.
ha salvado la vida. Ha salvado la vida a cientos de
And in doing
miles
so, it has saved the lives of hundreds of thousands of children
de niños y a cuántas personas les ha prolongado la vida.
and how many people are living a
Cuánto
longer
dolor.
life, how much pain
Ha superado,
has been relieved,
cuánto dolor físico.
how much physical pain has been relieved.
Del mismo modo que eliminó en los
The
primeros
same
años el
way
analfabetismo
illiteracy was eradicated in the first years of the
y
revolution.
que tiene hoy el más alto
And
per
today we
cápita,
have the highest per capita,
el más alto per cápita
the highest
de
number
profesores y maestros
of
entre todos
teachers
los
and
países
professors
del
per
mundo.
capita, and that among all the countries of the
Igual que tiene el
world.
más alto per cápita de médicos.
The same way we have the
Igual
highest
que tiene el más
percentage of
alto
doctors per capita in
de
the
médicos.
world.
Ese es el país acusado.
That is the country which is being
Un
accused of
país que desde
violating
la
human
guerra
rights.
siguió una línea invariable.
A country that has pursued
Respetar
a
de manera
steady
absoluta
line
y total
of absolute
la integridad
and total
física de las
respect for the
personas.
physical integrity of its
Y el
citizens.
mejor testimonio fueron los 3.000 prisioneros
And
que
the best
hicimos en
evidence
Girón.
were the 3,000 prisoners we got in the Bay of Pigs.
No hay uno solo
Not only one of them
que haya dicho que fue allí
can
asesinado
say that he was ill-treated.
haya sido
Not one of
asesinado.
them was killed.
al calor de los
Not one of
combates,
them was murdered even after when they were captured after battle.
o a que alguien se le haya tocado un pelo.
Not one of them was hurt.
Volvieron como héroes.
They came back as heroes.
Y algunos incluso cambiaron.
And some
después.
even changed after that.
Pero nadie pudo decir que
But
salió
no one could
siquiera
ever
con
say
la culata de un fusil.
That they were hit by one
Ese
of
es
our
nuestro
soldiers.
honor, esa es
That is
nuestra
our
gloria,
honor. That is our
esa
glory.
es nuestra historia,
That is
no
our
importa
history.
las
No matter
calumnias
the
que se han
slanders.
levantado contra
That is the
nosotros.
truth.
He hablado que hemos donado nuestra sangre
I have said that we have given our blood donations
para salvar
to
vidas.
save lives in other
He hablado de
countries.
médicos, de maestros.
We have talked about teachers, about
Pero hemos
doctors,
hecho algo más que
but
eso.
we have done something more than that.
Hemos derramado la sangre
We have
de
shed our
nuestros
blood.
compatriotas
We have shed our
para,
blood
para luchar
to
contra el
fight
colonialismo,
against
para
colonialism
defender la independencia
and to
y la
defend the
soberanía del
independence.
pueblo. Más de 2.000 cubanos
Over 2,000 Cubans
sacrificaron sus vidas en el cumplimiento de
shed their
misiones
blood and gave their lives
internacionalistas.
in these internationalist missions,
Pero
fighting colonialism and for the
si de
independence of the
algo
countries
nos
of Africa.
enorgullecemos
But if there is something that makes us proud
Y nos da la conciencia de que hemos cumplido
and makes us
nuestro
feel
deber
that we
con
have
la
discharged
humanidad,
our duty to humanity,
fueron los 15 años que
that
luchamos
is the 15 years
contra
that we fought
Sudáfrica,
against South Africa,
contra el racismo,
against
el
apartheid.
apartheid en Angola, los 15 años. años
15 years.
luchando
For 15 years we were there fighting apartheid,
hasta el final.
fighting racism till the very end.
¿Qué hacían con nosotros? Nos decían que nos bloqueaban.
What were they doing with us? They said that we had to be imposed a blockade.
Porque estábamos cumpliendo esa misión de ayuda allí,
And they were doing that, they said, because we were giving assistance to that country.
luchando contra los
Because we were
sudafricanos.
fighting the South African
Pero
racists.
esa es una historia muy
But that
interesante,
is a very interesting story, you
del
know.
cual un día deberá
Something that will one day
escribir.
have to be written.
Uno de los más horribles
One of the most
sistemas de
awful
discriminación
systems of discrimination
era el que se
and
hacía
racism
allí
was the one that existed there
en aquel país.
in that country in South Africa.
Decenas de años después del
Tens
fin
of
del fascismo,
years after the end of
del
fascism and Nazism,
sin embargo,
that situation existed there.
hoy no se habla mucho
However, not much is talked today about that, you
de
know.
eso. Nosotros conocemos bien la historia.
We know that history very well.
Conocemos bien.
We know it very well.
A Sudáfrica no la bloqueaban.
South Africa was not blockaded.
No le impedían comprar alimentos y
South Africa
medicinas.
was not prevented from purchasing food and medicines.
Y al país que luchaba
And the
heroicamente
country that was heroically fighting against the racists
no le vendían una
was not
medicina,
sold one medicine,
una aspirina,
one aspirin,
un citostático.
one cytostat
Ese era el
for a
castigo.
cancer patient. That was the
Hoy
punishment.
todo el mundo es feliz
Today everybody's happy
porque se acabó el apartheid.
because the apartheid is finished.
Hoy todo el mundo es
Today
feliz
everybody's happy
porque se produce la independencia de Namibia.
because the independence of Namibia was attained.
Y dura fue la lucha
But there was a tough struggle
de namibianos
by Namibians,
Angolanos
Angolans,
y cubanos.
and Cubans. They had to fight
para que ustedes
very
tengan una
hard.
idea. Para que ustedes tengan una idea, nuestras tropas
For you to have an idea,
estaban cerca de las
our
fronteras de
troops were
Sudáfrica,
close to the South African border.
un país poderoso,
A powerful
riquísimo.
country, a very wealthy country, South
Y
Africa.
nosotros a más de 10.000 kilómetros
And
de
we were over
distancia
10,000 kilometers away. I mean,
manteníamos
Cuba.
aquella lucha.
We were still keeping up that fight 10,000 kilometers away from our
Claro,
territory.
aquello no era fácil.
Of course,
la
that was
situación
not an easy task.
internacional. Cada vez que los angolanos iniciaban alguna
Every
ofensiva,
time the Angola started an offensive,
intervenían los
the
surafricanos.
South Africans came over
Y
and fought
nosotros
them
le
back.
decimos a los soviéticos
And we said to the Soviets,
que asesoraban allí en el
who were
Estado
the
Mayor,
advisors to
a
the
los angolanos,
Angolan headquarters,
que esas ofensivas no se
that those
podían hacer.
offensives were wrong. They
Si
couldn't
no
do
se les
that.
prohibía a
If
los
they were not able
surafricanos
to prevent the South
intervenir.
Africans from attacking them, it was useless to
Y no
conduct
había
those
manera.
offensives.
Eso no se entendía.
But they did not pay attention.
Hasta que en un
They did not
momento se
understand
crea una
that.
crisis
Till
muy
there was a
seria,
moment when a very serious crisis was
que estuvo a
created.
punto de perderse
A moment
totalmente.
when the war was
Independencia de
practically
Angola.
lost.
Y nosotros,
And
los
then
cubanos,
we, the Cubans,
tuvimos que resolver el problema.
we had to solve the problem.
Enviamos muchas de nuestras mejores
We
unidades,
sent many of our best
Pilotos,
divisions, pilots,
aviones,
planes,
y le decimos, le vamos a prohibir a los
and
surafricanos
we said
intervenir.
to them, we are going to prevent the South Africans
Cuando llegó la situación había
from
una gran
acting.
crisis.
When we arrived there was a great
Y es cuando se
crisis.
desarrolla la batalla de Cuito
It was when the
Cuanavale.
Cuito Valley battle took place.
¿Sabe cuántos hombres envió Cuba a Angola en ese momento?
You know how many troops Cuba sent to Angola at that moment?
55.000 hombres.
55,000 troops.
55.000 hombres. Lo cual habría sido, y voluntarios todos,
And all of them on voluntary
que es lo más
basis.
importante. de
That's
todo,
the most
voluntarios,
important thing of all.
voluntarios. En Cuito Cuanavale se estrellaron los racistas.
And in Cuito Valley, the racists
Ellos
could not
libraron
win.
allá la batalla al este, al
They
sureste,
wanted to have the battle to the east,
lugar difícil.
in a difficult place.
Y allí le hicimos la trampa.
But there we lay a trap for them.
La trampa contra la
We
cual
lay
se
a trap
estrellaron,
against which they clashed.
porque se convirtió en un símbolo y
Because
quisieron
there
tomar.
Cuiroquana Valley became a symbol.
Enviamos las fuerzas necesarias
We sent the necessary forces
para frenar,
to stop the South Africans' advancement
obligarlas a
and
estrellarse
to
allí.
force them to
Mientras le
defeat.
movimos 40.000 soldados
While we
cubanos,
moved 40,000 Cuban troops
20.000 soldados
and
angolanos
20,000 Angolan troops
hacia el suroeste
to the southwest
para amenazar
to
por
threaten
en
them on the
esa
other
dirección
side,
al ejército
to
surafricano.
stop the South African army from trying
Creamos la
something different.
correlación de fuerzas
So we were
necesaria
able to create the necessary balance of power
sencillamente para alcanzar la
simply
victoria.
to stop them and to attain
La
victory.
aplicación de la resolución 435
So
y al
the
final
implementation of Resolution
el
34
cese de la paz
435 and at the end
como
to put an end to
contribución
apartheid.
a la heroica lucha,
That
mil
was our
veces heroica
contribution
lucha
to the
del
heroic
pueblo
struggle of
surafricano.
the South African people.
Del fin del
There
apartheid,
were talks about the end of apartheid,
obra y milagro
like the work and miracle
maravilloso
of the United
de las
Nations.
Naciones Unidas. No se mencionó un solo cubano de los que murieron.
There was no
esa noche.
mention about one
No
Cuban
se
of the
mencionó
many
ni
Cubans who
siquiera
died
el
there.
nombre de Cuba.
The name of Cuba was not even mentioned.
Vean cómo a veces
So look how sometimes
se pretende escribir la historia.
people intend to write history forgetting reality.
Pero ¿qué es lo más extraordinario?
But what is it the most extraordinary about this?
Es que Sudáfrica se había convertido,
It is that South Africa had become
en una potencia
a
nuclear.
nuclear power by then.
Y nosotros lo
And
sabíamos.
we knew it.
Incluso la dislocación de nuestras
We
tropas
even deployed
y
our
sus
forces
avances.
in such a way
se realizaba tomando en cuenta que Sudáfrica
that we were taking into account that South Africa
tenía
had
armas nucleares.
nuclear warheads.
La cuestión era ver si se decidían a lanzarlas o no.
The right of the matter was whether
Porque
they
en
would
definitiva,
decide to
¿contra
drop
quién
it or
iban a lanzar
not.
las armas?
Who
Contra
were they
nosotros.
going to use the weapon against?
Y después, ¿dónde?
Against
Dentro de
us?
la propia
And where?
Sudáfrica.
Inside South Africa?
No se podía sostener el apartheid con
Apartheid could
armas
not
nucleares.
sustain even if they had the nuclear
Pero por ahí
weapon.
se acaba de publicar un libro que
But a book has just
empieza
been
a circular,
published
donde se habla de que Sudáfrica
where they
tenía
say that in
ya
South Africa, at
decenas
that
de armas
time, they had
nucleares.
tens of nuclear weapons at that time.
Granadas nucleares,
They even had
municiones
nuclear
nucleares,
grenades.
una respetable fuerza
They
nuclear
had a respectable amount of nuclear
que se ha descubierto
warheads.
ya en detalles en virtud de
It has been
investigaciones
described in
y un
detail in that
periodista
book.
norteamericano y un
In
periodista
research made by American journalists
sudafricano.
and South African journalists, that
Alguien
was the situation at that
protestó.
time. Did anyone protest?
¿Acaso se ignoraba que Sudáfrica tenía armas nucleares?
Was perhaps ignored that South Africa had the nuclear weapons at that time?
Pero ¿por qué no se dijo una sola
Why
palabra?
was it that nobody said a word about that?
¿Por qué no hubo una denuncia?
Why was it that there was not a denunciation
Ah.
about South Africa having a nuclear weapon?
Porque ahí estaban los cubanos
Why? Because the Cubans were fighting there.
luchando
The
contra los
Cubans were the ones
sudafricanos.
fighting the South Africans there,
Y al
the
parecer
South
algunas
African
personas
racists.
no le
And
importaban
apparently some did not
si los
care
surafricanos lanzaban
whether the
unas
South
cuantas
Africans
bombas
used
nucleares
the
contra
nuclear
las
bombs
tropas cubanas.
against the Cuban and Angolan
Esa es la
troops
verdad,
there.
esa es una historia que
That
está
is a
por
historical
escribir,
truth. That history
en la
is
cual hay
still
que
to be
seguir
written.
investigando y profundizando,
More research should be made
porque
about that.
según la teoría de estos
Because
escritores,
according to the theory of these journalists and
grupos
researchers,
fascistas y
fascist
racistas
groups and
surafricanos
racist groups in South Africa
han conservado
have been able
algunas
to
de
keep
esas
some of
bombas.
those weapons that they have, and they have them under their control right now.
Pero así se escribe la historia,
So that is history, you
así
see.
se manejan las relaciones
That is the way
internacionales.
international relations work.
Determinadas personas,
That
determinados
is the way
países
certain people in certain
aliados
countries look at history.
pueden fabricar armas nucleares.
Certain
pueden hacer
allies
todo
can
lo que
manufacture as many nuclear weapons as they want.
quieran.
Nobody
Si es
cares.
cualquier otro país,
If any other country,
como fue el caso de Corea,
as
que
it was the
fabricó
case
una
of
bomba
Korea,
sin que todavía se supiera con qué.
people said that they wanted to manufacture a nuclear bomb. Nobody knows with which resources they
El
were
gran
going to do it.
escándalo.
Anyway,
Casi una
a
guerra.
great scandal was made.
Pero la Sudáfrica del
But South
apartheid
Africa,
y del racismo
The racist South Africa, the South Africa of apartheid could have as many
le permitieron alcanzar
as
la
many nuclear
tecnología
weapons as it
nuclear
wanted. It
y
was allowed
disponer
to have access to the nuclear energy.
de todas las armas que
It was
consideró
allowed to have as many nuclear weapons as it
conveniente.
wanted.
Por eso, al hablar de la historia de
That's
estos
why
años de
when talking about the
revolución,
history of these years of
creo que
revolution,
una de las páginas
I
más
think that one of the
peligrosas,
most
más arriesgadas,
dangerous
y
and
más
risky
difícil
pages written by
fue la
the
que se
Cubans
escribió en esa
was
lucha
the
contra
one
el
written in
racismo.
that struggle against the racism
Contra la
and apartheid in South Africa.
Y fueron los namibios,
And the Namibians
fueron los angolanos,
and the Angolans
y fuera de esos dos países,
fought.
solo Cuba
And outside from those two countries, only Cuba
en el mundo
was involved.
derramó su sangre
Only Cuba
generosa
shed its generous
en
blood
esa causa.
against apartheid and against racism.
Hay países donde desaparecieron más de 20.000 personas. Desaparecidas.
There are countries where more than 20,000
Hay un
people are
país en
missing.
Centroamérica,
There is a country in Central
Guatemala,
America, Guatemala,
donde desaparecieron a más de 100.000
where over
personas
100,000 people are missing.
desde la invasión mercenaria
And
contra
that comes
Armenia.
from the days of the invasion against
Y no quiero mencionar otros muchos países
a
donde hubo
democratic government
miles
there. And I do not want to
de
mention other
desaparecidos
countries, but thousands
y
of
asesinados.
people have disappeared
Ese caso no se
in
dio
Latin America.
jamás en Cuba.
That has never happened in
Ninguno
Cuba.
de esos países fue bloqueado. Cuba sigue bloqueada.
None of those countries has been blockaded. However, Cuba is still under the blockade.
Esa es la realidad
And that is the reality.
histórica. Y nosotros estamos
That is
contra todos los
historical
bloqueos.
reality. And we are against every
Porque en
blockade.
definitiva ese bloqueo va
Anyway,
contra hombres,
blockades goes against the people,
mujeres,
against
y
men,
niños,
women, and children,
adolescentes
against the
y
youth
jóvenes.
and the old.
Tiende a matarlo de hambre.
It kills those people. It makes
Porque
them
ningún
starve.
bloqueo ha sido tan duro.
But no blockade has
Y
been
tan
as
riguroso
tough
como el bloqueo contra
and as
este país.
rigorous as the blockade against Cuba.
Yo creo que no es justo
I
usar
think it is not fair
esas armas
to use blockade as a weapon
No tiene
against any
lógica.
country. It is not logical
porque son armas contra el pueblo.
because those are weapons against the
Que
people,
no-
against
que no
ordinary
tienen por
people.
qué. No tienen por qué usarse, se quieren prohibir las pruebas nucleares.
There is no reason. People want to have
Creemos que
a
deben
ban
desaparecer
on
todas
nuclear
las armas
tests.
nucleares.
Yes, we agree. All the nuclear weapons should be
Desde
removed.
luego, pero ¿qué es un bloqueo?
But what is a
Como
blockade?
decíamos hoy,
As we were saying today at the United
no,
Nations,
como un arma
if
atómica
not like
silenciosa
a noiseless atom bomb,
que mata
which
a la
kills
gente del
people,
pueblo, a los
which kills
civiles,
the people,
a los
which
no
kills the children,
combatientes.
which
No
kills.
tiene justificación
There is no justification for a
de
blockade.
ninguna clase. Si me he extendido
If I have overextended
ni mucho
in my
menos con la
speech, it
idea
is
de
not because
hablar aquí la
I had the idea.
Yo me he extendido porque quería
I have spoken this
meditar,
long because I wanted
reflexionar.
to meditate with you.
sobre algunas de estas
I
cuestiones
wanted to think with you about some of these
en las
matters
cuales justifico la idea
with which I justify the idea
de que hemos sabido ser
that
fieles
we have always been loyal,
a nuestros
faithful
principios
to our principles,
y que ustedes con su
and
gesto
that you, with your gesture
reconocen esa conducta de Cuba.
of receiving us here tonight, recognize our loyalty to our principles.
Aquí en Harlem
Here in Harlem,
conocí a Malcolm X,
I met Malcolm X,
conocí a otras muchas personalidades Eran días difíciles,
Those were difficult days.
siempre son difíciles
Well, we always are in difficult
los
days.
días, pero por delante estaba una lucha muy
But
grande.
we had ahead a very hard struggle.
La grande batalla de Martin Luther King
The great battles of Martin Luther
por
King
los derechos
were still to
civiles,
take place. His struggle for the civil
las
rights,
grandes luchas de
the
las
great
minorías
struggles
negras,
by the
hispánicas,
black, the
latinoamericanas, de todas
Hispanics, the
partes,
Latin Americans,
por mejorar sus
to
condiciones de
improve their
vida,
living conditions,
la lucha de los
the
ancianos,
struggle
de
by
los
the
enfermos,
elders,
todo.
by the sick.
Sé perfectamente
I
bien
know very well
que muchas de esas conquistas
that many of those conquests
hoy están corriendo.
are in danger
peligro.
today.
Sé que hay algunas personas
I know
que quisieran barrer,
that
con
some
todo,
people would like to sweep away all those conquests.
pero barrerlo completamente.
Some people would like to do away with
La
all those
protección a los
conquests,
ancianos,
to do
a los
away with every
enfermos,
assistance to the sick, to the
liquidar las
elder.
acciones
They would like to do away
afirmativas,
with affirmative actions.
barrer
They would like
con todos
to
los
sweep away
grandes logros
all the great achievements
que el pueblo más humilde
that
de
the
Estados
American
Unidos
people, the ordinary, humble people
ha logrado
of America have attained in all
en
these
estos años
years.
de lucha. Bueno, hago una breve referencia
Well,
a eso
I
nada
just
más,
make a brief reference to this,
y espero que nadie
and I hope
me impute por ello.
nobody
que
would
me
contest me
mezclo,
for
como
that.
decía. Pero hacia Cuba, desde Estados Unidos, se transmiten alrededor de 1000 horas
About
semanales.
1,000 hours of
Son
broadcasting
semanales,
from the
semanales.
United States are aimed
1000
at Cuba
horas
every
semanales
week.
de radio
1,000 hours of radio broadcasting aimed against Cuba every week,
promoviendo la subversión,
promoting subversion,
los sabotajes a la
inciting to
economía,
sabotage against the economy,
atentados.
attempts against our leaders' lives.
Esta modesta persona que ustedes
This
ven aquí
modest person that you see here
tiene el privilegio,
has the privilege,
y yo creo que la iglesia debe
and
tener
I
algo
think that
con
the
eso,
church must have something to do with that,
de haber
of
sobrepasado
having survived
cientos de planes de
hundreds of
atentados.
attempts against my life.
Yo creo que las oraciones de ustedes o de muchos de ustedes están presentes
I think that your prayers have been saving me.
forma que algo tiene que haber,
There must be something,
puesto que bueno,
since
¿cómo habrá sido posible?
how could it be possible?
Y todavía esos planes
And those plans
se elaboran.
are still being hatched
No
today.
estoy culpando al
I'm
gobierno,
not blaming the U.S.
pero hay
administration,
grupos de extrema
but there are
derecha,
extreme
fascistas,
right-wing groups,
que
extreme racist
continúan
groups that
trabajando
continue
febrilmente
to work
para
feverishly
llevar a
to
cabo
carry
atentados
forward attempts
contra la economía de nuestro
against the
país
economy of our
y
country and to
asesinatos
murder
de
the
dirigentes de la
leaders of our
revolución.
country.
Se mantiene como ahora, nadie se
That's
imagina
still going on.
que eso haya cambiado,
That has not changed.
en realidad. Me emocionaba el recuerdo de
I was
los hermanos
moved
Booth
by the
sobre
memory when Mr. Bosworth was
la vez que
talking.
estuvimos en la iglesia
He was reminded us of the day when we went to the church in Havana.
allá en el Vedado, en La Habana. Yo recuerdo que aquel día yo me convertí como una especie de hermano también,
I remember that day I felt like a brother
porque
in that church
pronuncié una especie de sermón.
because I made not a speech but a kind of a sermon.
Creo que hasta
I
el
delivered a
estilo de
sermon.
sermón. Y él se recordaba de más
And
datos
he was also reminding us
cuando
of
preguntó
other data
sobre mis creencias.
when I was asked about my beliefs
Y lo que yo le había respondido
and what I had answered then.
con toda honestidad
I answered in all honesty
es que yo no tuve la suerte de
that
tener
I was not lucky enough
tan buenos
to
pastores.
have such good pastors.
Que en vez de decirme cree, me dijeran piensa,
Instead of telling me believe, they should have told me
Medita.
think, meditate.
y llevaran a mi alma las
That way they
convicciones
would have taken to my soul
Que
the
yo no tuve el
convictions
privilegio
that I did not have the privilege
de recibir.
of receiving.
Me convertí en sacerdote de
So I
causa
became a priest in a
que
different
pienso
cause.
que
A
no
cause
tenga
that I believe, though,
ninguna contradicción,
a cause that
ninguna
has no
contradicción con la
contradiction,
creencia religiosa.
a cause that has no
Y la idea
contradiction
de
with your
Dios.
religious belief and the
Martí
beliefs of
decía
God.
que Dios era la idea del bien que velaba
God
el
was the idea
nacimiento
of
de
good,
cada ser humano.
of doing good to the human beings.
Y cuando él hablaba,
And while he was talking,
y yo pensaba en todos estos
and
problemas
I was
humanos,
thinking about all these human problems I
Todos
have
los
been discussing here
sufrimientos de la
tonight,
humanidad.
all the sufferings of
que
humanity.
no quiero enumerar en
And I do not want to go
cifras,
through the long list of
lo que sufren
calamities.
4.500 millones de seres
where
humanos del tercer mundo,
4.5 billion human beings are suffering in the world.
los miles de millones de ignorantes,
What billions of
hambrientos,
illiterate,
gente por debajo del
starving
nivel de la
people who are
pobreza,
living under the poverty
sin
line
educación,
are going
sin
through
salud, sin
without
nada.
education, without medical
cuando
care.
veo tanto
When I see
sufrimiento,
so much suffering,
me recordaba al hablar el hermano Bot
I remember while Brother Butts was talking
una historia o una leyenda
of a story or a legend
de un indio cubano,
of a Cuban native aborigine.
el indio Atuey,
Atuey was his name,
que con ese espíritu de conquistador con que llegaron
the Spaniards
los españoles
arrived in our countries with that spirit of
a la
conquerors.
América Latina,
They arrived with that spirit in Latin America.
con la cruz y con la espada.
They came with the cross and the
Ustedes
sword.
deben comprender que la cruz no se puede
You should understand that the
introducir a
cross
través de la
cannot
espada,
be introduced with a sword.
pero el indio Atuey se sublevó
That
contra los
aborigine Atuey
conquistadores
uprised against the conquerors,
y lo condenaron a morir
and
en
he
la
was
hoguera.
sentenced to die in the fire.
Y cuando estaba en la hoguera,
And while he was
le dijeron
there in the fire, he was told
que existía un cielo
that there was heaven
y que a él lo querían bautizar para que fuera.
and that he should be baptized to be able to go to heaven.
Entonces
And then he asked,
el indio preguntó si los españoles
if the
iban al
Spaniards
cielo.
go to that heaven, I do not want to go there.
Y él no dijo si creía o no creía, dice, bueno, entonces
He was not asked whether he believed or not.
yo no quiero
He
ir
said,
al cielo.
if they go to heaven, then I do not want to go there.
Del mismo modo en este mundo muchos
And nowadays, in this world,
que nos hablan del cielo.
there are many who speak to us about heaven.
En este mundo
In this world,
tan llenos de
right
abusos
here, in this world so full of abuses,
y tan llenos de
so
injusticia.
full of injustices.
Y en ese sentido,
And in that sense,
yo podré decir
I could say
a ese cielo
that heaven
que ustedes practican en este mundo,
that you practice in this world,
nosotros
we do
no
not want
queremos
to go
ir.
there. We do not believe in that heaven.
Nosotros Nosotros queremos ir a un cielo de justicia
We want to go to a heaven where there is
y de
justice,
dignidad
where there
humana.
is human dignity.
Nosotros queremos ir a un
We want to
cielo
go to a heaven
Nosotros queremos ir a un cielo de justicia
We want to go to a heaven where there is
y de
justice,
dignidad
where there
humana.
is human dignity.
Nosotros queremos ir a un
We want to
cielo
go to a heaven
de hermandad.
where there is brotherhood.
Y en ese cielo
And in that heaven,
creo.
I believe.
Y por ese cielo
And for
estoy
that
dispuesto a dar mi
heaven,
vida.
I'm willing to give up my life.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
You have to remain steady. Do not leave the church while the president is leaving.
Espero haberme metido lo menos posible en los problemas de identidad.
This is the world. This is America. And this is what you should take away from your life. This is what I think you really like.
Please, you gotta remain in your seats, ladies, out of the building.